All right, so this is literally the worst timing ever for me to get into researching a stock. My annual conference is 2 days away. I have over 500 people this year as opposed to in the past roughly 100. So it's going to be crazy. Everybody wants to be, my next millionaire student. Last year, I didn't have any millionaire students. Now I have several, Fox, CNN, everyone's covering it. Everyone's like, oh, wait, this guy isn't full of BS. And unfortunately, I'm still a trader. I'm still, looking at stocks. And while I was planning my presentation, this is part of the PowerPoint that I'm planning. Here's a GoPro chart, where it's gone from 30 to 90 in a few weeks. It's the hottest stock around, and so I, was going to talk about this. At the time when I made this presentation like 2 nights ago, or I was refining it, I was saying how 360 Fly scores 17 million as investors bet big on this interactive 360-degree video, and it's basically this little thing. And there's an article, is 360 Fly the GoPro killer? And I was going to talk about it. This was the chart that I was looking at, VOXX, because they're the majority investor in 360 Fly. And I was going to talk about how I had, I bought a 2,000 share long-term position somewhere in here, like around 935. And I was thinking about buying it here in the 11s because they were supposed to launch 360 Fly at the end of September. This company, VOXX, gave a presentation at Wedbush, and they said, actually, we're going to push it back to October. And this was after it was already supposed to come out in June. So no one's happy with them pushing it back. But basically, this whole run-up from 10 to 11.5 was in anticipation of 360 Fly launching at the end of September. It didn't happen. And people are just like, screw this, what's wrong with this company? What's wrong with this product? Let me just sell. And it dropped basically $2 a share. And at this point, I'm thinking, they're still going to launch it a few weeks. They say the last week of October. So going into this conference, starting in 2 days, I was going to say, hey, I have a 2,000 share position, but this is a classic example of product news / media mentions where, when they finally do announce 360 Fly, the stock is going to surge. And as I was doing this presentation, yesterday they came out with a press release saying that they're going to be reporting earnings next Thursday after the close, and they're going to have their conference call next Friday on October 9th. Or maybe October 10th. Yeah, they're going to report earnings on October 9th and then have the conference call on October 10th. And that changed the game because now I'm thinking, we're waiting to see if they're going to have, a delayed news or not. The big move, and I think the stock can really spike, $2, $3, maybe even $4 a share in a day when 360 Fly is announced, and if they start getting more and more articles about the company being a GoPro killer. But now I actually just bought 20,000 shares in my short-term account. Here is the stock. Here's the whole chart. It doesn't have that pretty of a chart. You go back 2 years, there's a ton of support right here at 891. And most interestingly, the top here was 939, which is the exact spot that it's at right now. So you have this big crash and this bounce, or this dip, and a failed bounce so far. And I normally would never buy this kind of a chart pattern. This is not predictable. But I just bought 40,000 shares because I've been researching. And while I was researching, I found this article from July from the Geo Investing team. These guys are mainly short sellers. They're great researchers. And they're basically saying, on July 30th, exciting upside based on new products, and they talk about a few products, 3 products, and I didn't know about these other 2. I just knew, okay, the GoPro killer. Myris, an iris scanner, which is an ultra-secure method of authenticating identities. Myris negates the need for numerous complex online passwords and could revolutionize cyber security for individuals. Then they also have a solar-powered antenna in talks with AT&T to develop long-life solar-powered antennas. And so, that's cool. But also, the company itself, they do nearly $1 billion in sales, and they're only valued at a little over 200 million, and they're slightly profitable. So they're trading at, 4 times. This was in July, and the numbers haven't really changed. but they're trading at 4 to 5 times EBITDA, and so geo investing is saying our price target of $15, and you look at like their competitors, they're all trading much more. Even Dolby is trading at 11.6, and UEIC and GoPro is obviously trading at 55, and this was in July. So GoPro has tripled since then, and Vox, interestingly, is at the exact same price. And Vox, to be fair, they missed their guidance. They're not doing very well with their automotive sector. So it's not like it's like this amazing company like GoPro, but they do have the 360 Fly, which looks freaking awesome. And this is what's really cool. So, Vox's current market cap of $230 million is well supported by its core business, and they're getting literally no value for 360 Fly. And I understood that because they have all these potential retail chains where they're going to sell 360 Fly, but if you delay the product, you're going to get smacked. I didn't know about this Myris, and it won the CES Editor's Choice Award and the Red Dot Design Award out of like thousands of people. And there's a 1 in 2.25 trillion chance of getting a false positive. So it's actually very, very secure. It's right next to DNA. And this is where the Apple Touch ID is right now. And this is what gets me, really, really interested. And then, the solar powered antenna, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't really matter to me. And, they have the same revenues, 800, 800, 700. So it won't be like a huge, be like, oh my God, revenues are going to double. But these new technologies should be valued at something. And especially, Myris, because here is what's so interesting. So this is iLock's website. They have a little blog and they link to articles related to biometric security. And so they say Apple patents biometric sensor-packed health monitoring earphones. So Apple is getting into biometrics, with their new stuff where you can monitor your health. But this is what gets me really interested in this. So Apple just announced Apple Pay. They may have ended the retail point of sale data breach crisis with Apple Pay, and you basically touch your phone. But this is, this is another blog post from iLock. Iris Security could have stopped celeb photo hack, and Apple got a lot of flack for all these celebrities who had their photos, and they basically got compromised. And this is where it gets cool. So the current Apple Pay solution, where you pay via your phone, and it's incorporating technology from Authentic, which actually was a penny stock I traded years ago, and they bought Authentic for $356 million. So okay, so fingerprinting is worth $356 million, and this was 2 years ago, and maybe they thought, okay, Apple Pay might be something in the future. Now that they're launching it, I mean, if Authentic was still around today, they probably would pay like $1 billion. If the iris protection really is the next thing, and you're going into biometric, Apple is going to have to buy iLock and Myris, and that's going to cost them because Myris has award-winning products. But here is what's most interesting. So you have these exciting technologies, blah, blah, blah. I should bring up the fact that some recent Apple Pay kind of in the same sector stocks, here's OTIV, spiked up when they just said, oh, we're in the NFC field. They're not working with Apple, but the stock spiked from 2.5 to 5. NETE also spiked from 2 to 6 and came back down. And now lately NXTD has come up from 1 to 3. So these stocks have doubled. These are smaller companies, to be fair, but I gotta believe that if Apple, has any idea of the future, which they obviously do, and they're gonna want more protection, they're probably looking at some kind of iris scanning security like Myris. And it wouldn't be surprising to me if when that happens, VOXX will spike because of their Myris subsidiary. And this just isn't that fast of a moving stock. That's why I don't mind taking 20,000 share position. That's why I don't mind being down a penny or two, because this isn't like my normal kind of stock where I'm like buying a $2 stock and I expect a 50 cent a share move. I mean, I literally think this can jump back to 11. if not 12 or 13 in the next few weeks. A lot has to happen for that. I'm not just going to hold it. You know, they have their conference call Thursday after, or they have their reporting Thursday after the close, and then the conference call Friday. I probably won't be holding a sizable position into that. But I guarantee you that they're going to talk about MyRisk, and they're going to try and link it to Apple Pay, and they're going to give an update on 360 Fly, and hopefully, you know, it'll still be good for the end of October. If they push it back again, then the stock will get spanked. But that's why I'm not going to have a big position. But just because we know, this is kind of a cool advantage, because most people don't know about these little technologies. They just see this company, okay, they make, you know, revenues of 800 million every year, slow building, manufacturing, electronics, boring. They miss estimates, they suck. Most people don't know about their GoPro potential killer. And it's not just me saying, you know, GoPro killer. I mean, it's a few things. Here's a blog, 360 Fly better than the GoPro. Here's another website, is 360 Fly the GoPro killer? And 360 Fly debuted at CES last year. Welcome to the future. It rivals GoPro. So everyone's comparing it to GoPro. It's an obvious comparison. So even if it doesn't actually sell well during holiday season, I'm not holding till, you know, Christmas. I'm not saying hold this stock for months. It might keep going. This might sell well, but just on the initial launch, on the pop that we've been waiting for, which has now been delayed, hopefully during the conference call they will say, you know, we're sticking to the last week in October. If that happens, the stock will spike. I won't even be there for the conference call. I'm buying now in anticipation of other people buying, in anticipation of something said on that conference call. That's how you know you're safe, when you're buying in anticipation. Normally, I wouldn't go big until after the announcement. You know, this won't spike $3 or $4 a share heading into the conference call, unless someone writes an article about this. You know, this article, an article with widespread distribution. You know, I'll post this on my blog just because I love finding exciting stories before other people and telling you about it. I mean, this gets my heart beating, and I have so much to do for this conference. This is literally the last thing that I need to do right now. But I can't help myself. So Geo Investing has already written about this in July. They haven't written about it since. And this was before GoPro had tripled, and this was before Apple Pay. So if they write a follow-up, you know, they'll probably wait until the conference call just to hear what the company has to say. But if and when they write a follow-up, or maybe somebody else is, you know, anticipating the company saying something on a conference call, so they're going to write a Seeking Alpha article, or, you know, Bloomberg or anybody can write anything these days. And the question is will people notice it? So I don't want to sit around and wait on the sidelines. The reason why I have a very small long-term position is because I think, you know, if and when they announce their 360 Fly, you know, and it's not just the hardware, it's also a website, so they're going to become like basically a media producer too. You know, I think the stock spikes. But I will not have a huge position until, in 20,000 shares, I mean, it sounds like a huge position, like, you know, $180,000, but I'm trading with nearly $1.5 million now. So I don't even mind taking a $500,000 position on this if it starts moving. If someone starts writing an article, this is the way to play GoPro. Because GoPro is just way too expensive. I have to update my chart. It's already dropped, you know, to 87 from 91 when I posted that on my PowerPoint like 2 nights ago. But here is the #1 reason why I'm so all about VOXX. There are 1.42 million shares that are short. I don't know what they're thinking. You know, oh well, they're probably thinking VOXX is a slow-growing company. They've missed estimates in the past. It's always paid to, you know, short the stock and bet against them and bet on failure. But I don't know why you would do that, because this thing is trading at half of its book value. Its book value, forget about MyRisk, forget about 360 Fly, it's worth $17 a share just based on the core company alone. And, you know, with these added things, again, Authentech was acquired by Apple for $350 million. That would be a 50% premium just if their 360 Fly got acquired by GoPro, let's say, or Apple acquires MyRisk, or invests in it, or does anything. There's just so many potential spikes and so little downside, I think, aside from them delaying the products again. Then, you know, I'll acquire at lower prices. But I just want to be first. I want you guys watching this. Put it on your watch list ASAP. When someone writes about it, it could be huge.